December 16, 1944. What truly separates a U.S. soldier from his European counterpart? Is it training, discipline, or something far deeper? Something born from the shadows of the battlefield where courage and horror share the same breath? When the snow began to fall over the Ardennes Forest during the Battle of the Bulge, the white silence of winter was torn apart by roaring artillery and the haunting cries of men caught in an ambush they never saw coming. American soldiers, many barely out of high school, found themselves surrounded by experienced German forces in one of the coldest, deadliest winters of the war. The ground was frozen, blood turned to ice, and bodies lay like statues among shattered trees. European soldiers fought with years of inherited discipline, bound by strict formations and centuries-old doctrines. But American troops fought differently. They adapted to chaos using instinct and emotion where training alone could not save them. In the town of Bastogne, when the Germans demanded surrender, U.S. General Anthony McAuliffe replied with a single word: nuts. A defiance that summed up the American spirit, stubborn, fearless, almost reckless in its will to survive. As night fell, the Ardennes became a graveyard of whispers. Some soldiers swore they heard voices in the mist, friends calling out from beyond the snowbanks long after those same friends had been found lifeless hours earlier. One private from the 101st Airborne wrote that he saw flickering shapes moving between the trees, the silhouettes of fallen comrades walking in silence as if still patrolling their posts. These eerie visions haunted the men more than the German fire, and yet they fought on, because American soldiers didn't see themselves as soldiers of conquest. They were men from farms, factories, and small towns thrust into the jaws of something unimaginable. Their courage came not from tradition, but from a fierce, almost desperate will to protect each other. While many European armies relied on hierarchy and rigid tactics, the Americans thrived on improvisation, turning broken trucks into barricades, frozen rifles into clubs, and fear into fire. When dawn rose over Bastogne, the forest was littered with the dead, both Allied and Axis. The smell of gunpowder mixed with pine and blood. An American medic, trembling from exhaustion, wrote in his journal that as he moved from one wounded soldier to the next, he felt a cold hand grab his ankle from beneath the snow. When he brushed the frost away, he found a fallen man staring upward with eyes wide open, dead for hours. Such moments became part of their memories, buried deep but never forgotten, and as they pushed forward into Germany, the horror changed form. They began to uncover the concentration camps, the skeletal remains of humanity itself. The soldiers who had faced bullets and shells without fear broke down in tears when they saw what evil truly looked like. In that moment, the difference between them and the enemy was clear, not just in uniform, but in soul. American soldiers were not immune to trauma. In fact, it consumed many of them long after they came home. Nightmares, hallucinations, sudden bursts of fear. They became ghosts walking among the living. Yet, despite everything, they carried themselves with quiet strength. Unlike some European soldiers shaped by generations of warfare, Americans fought in defense of ideals, freedom, brotherhood, and the belief that even amidst horror, humanity must endure. They were not bred for war, but born into peace, and perhaps that's what made them so powerful when peace was taken from them. Their resilience came from their ordinary roots, from the faces of families waiting across an ocean, from the memory of home-cooked meals and warm laughter that war could never erase. When American forces finally reached Berlin, the city was a ruin of smoke and sorrow. The echo of boots on broken glass was all that remained of civilization. Yet even in that destruction, the soldiers showed compassion, sharing rations with starving children, helping civilians rebuild, refusing to lose their humanity to the madness around them. In that contrast lay the true difference. While European soldiers had grown hardened by centuries of empire and bloodshed, the American soldier still carried a fragile sense of hope. He believed the nightmare could end, that beyond the smoke there would be sunrise again. And maybe that's why their stories still resonate today. Because the American soldier isn't defined by medals or victories, but by what he endures. The loneliness of frozen nights, the sound of dying friends, the unseen horror that lingers behind closed eyes. They stand apart not because they are fearless, but because they face fear head-on and keep walking. So what truly makes a U.S. soldier different from a European one? Perhaps it's not the way they fight, but the way they feel. the way they carry both the torch of hope and the shadow of war within their hearts. They march through hell not seeking glory but seeking light, and in that haunting silence after battle, when the smoke fades and the wind returns, it's their footsteps that echo the loudest, proof that even in the darkest hours of humanity, courage still survives.